Well, heck yeah, BBAI stock, not half bad. Big Bear AI stock earnings happening Monday in the after hours. And I said potentially we get near $7. We're going to take a look at the chart to see what we got from that. Also, I'm going to talk about Palantir and NVIDIA, keep giving updates on those as well. And then just a few things to remark on CoreWeave, Apple, and I feel like XYZ. There you go, Block Inc. We'll talk about those as well. And because I covered those previously in the channel, I wanted to give some updates on those as well. As for the price action that we saw with that, if you guys want to see all this stuff and more, come on over to the Discord. Also, subscribe to this channel. The Discord, by the way, has a code word doctor, going to save you 50% off your first month's sign up. Less than $1 a day to try it out. See what you think with that ecosystem. We'll talk more about it later. So Big Bear AI. Let's take these technicals down for a moment and just take a look at this 20 SMA, this blue line that's right up through here. And it today finished at $7.14 on the daily chart. So this is the 20-day simple moving average. We closed at 714. The 20-day was at 714. So we still have that mean reversion so far, but with a higher low this time. I said that coming up to earnings about $7, and that's about where we sit right now. I tried some call options today after an explosive opening, thinking that potentially we would get a little bit more of a push. I ended up having to close those out at even because they had an expiration date of today. I figured some cheap, maybe we'll catch some multiples, maybe we might have to see zero, but instead broke even on it. But you know, with the positions that I've taken already, I'm well ahead in my BBAI stock plays, and my cost basis still sits around $6.09 for the 200 shares that I hold on to for this. We'll get more into that in other videos. This one is more about the technicals that we see. So the RSI sitting pretty. Mind you, the earnings catalyst won't really care too much about the current momentum. So we're going to see a response to that, and that could land us on some of the technicals that we see on here for Big Bear AI stock. Now, this is something I think it's going to be pretty wild. So we'll talk about the bad first and then the good on this. If things go sideways for the news, meaning that we get bad news for that, but I think that we're down in the mid fives on this in a hurry. If instead we get good news, which I fully expect to get good news, and as much as anybody can expect, earnings are always a coin flip. Assuming that it's been an excellent quarter for them, that we see some wild outperformance, and hopefully we get some good guidance on that as well. So I'm not going to go like super heavy into call options on this. If the prices are right on the call options, I'll probably snag a few of them prior to that earnings taking place on Monday. I'll post them over at the Discord so that people can see that, but I will be transparent here on YouTube as well and talk about the fact that most likely that's the position that I'm going to take, especially right on the $7 mark. If we pop this, I think we can easily be up here in the $8 to $9 range to the upside on this. Now, mind you, the sky's the limit. Depending on what news we get from this thing. So we could put on 20 to 30% like we saw for Sound stock. Right now, there's that battle being fought for the price, and we can certainly see that happening, especially around the 20 SMA. If we put up the EMAs for a moment on this, take down the technicals so we can see a little bit more, we're sitting on top all the near-term moving averages. We're up above the 50, and then we're also up above the 200 is not on there. Here's the 200 simple moving average for you now, and the 100. So we got everything in place as we want it. The last ingredient that we need in all of this is those darn earnings that take place on Monday. So the market bias right now has been pretty darn strong for us, so that's always very heartening to see. We'll keep our fingers crossed that that holds out, because if the market itself happens to slide on us, well, then that's not going to be too great for if you ever tried to jump in an elevator. That's the sort of feeling that you can imagine for Big Bear AI stock if it tries to go up, but the floor is falling out of it at the same time because of the background market bias taking place. That can mitigate the results that we would see if it's the upside. It can accentuate movements to the downside instead. So mid fives up to from where we're at now, I think that we could see $9 coming out of this thing following those earnings. So we'll watch and see. So $2 in either direction I think is reasonable for something like this. I think it's going to move pretty big, and we'll see what the options market has to say on Monday. So if you actually take a near the money call and a near the money put, and then add those two prices together, that can tell you a lot about the movement that's expected for that stock, by the way. So if it's going to cost $100 in either direction to take that thing, then that would tell you that there's going to be that's $200 or a dollar in a premium for a call, dollar in premium for the put for that nearest expiration of the 15th. That's $200. That could tell you that you have a $2 $1 in either direction. So that $200, that means if you try to play that volatility play, by taking a straddle on it, for example. So sort of like here's the horse and then here's the person jumping onto the horse this way. So that would be a call and a put at the same strike, buying one of each of them. And it costs you $200, then you get a movement that moves it by $2, and then you get the volatility crush after it, and then you end up barely, if at all, profitable on something like that. So for Big Bear AI, $2 in either direction is about what I expect on this. We'll see if we get 5 or if we get 9. I got my fingers crossed that 9 is the case, and that's what I'm going with from here. So over to Palantir. Talked about this yesterday for its daily chart, and I said we want to watch and see what we get. There we go, from Palantir. I hit the wrong button there. Watch what we get from Palantir. I said that this was an just indecisive candle on Thursday. If we go up here on Friday, that could tell us that we have a continuation to the north. And if we went down here, that could tell us we have a continuation to the south. Well, we got a candle above. That's continuation to the north. Woohoo! So this thing, and I did adjust the rising wedge pattern that I have drawn for Palantir. Here's the hourly chart on it. And this, I think, is actually a fairly good fit. And before, when I had it drawn, it did not include some of these prices. But now that we've adjusted that, you can also see we have some wicks popping out of the bottom of that. There could be further adjustments to this over time, but the general pattern's the same. It's not until we break out of this and retest this as resistance, at this current support as resistance, that we could fall down through here. If we do, I move this back down to 171 to 173.5. We'll ballpark it right around those two, that we could tumble out of this. And, well, so far that's not what we saw. We saw new all-time highs today. But like I said, we want to keep an eyeball on that. And I'm not going to sit here and say that Palantir is going to drop sometime because of today's the day, today's the day, today's the day. I don't know if you guys ever saw the movie Tin Cup or not. I believe Kevin Costner was the golfer in that one, and he wanted to hit the ball over the pond. And so he tried and plunk into the water. And so he dropped another ball, hit it, plunk into the water, and he just kept doing that over and over and over, and blew his entire game. And it was like kind of pointless, kind of ridiculous. That'd be the kind of the same thing here, is that as Palantir is making its climb, to be like, today's the day it's going to fall. Today's the day it's going to fall. I don't know if it's going, well, I mean, it's going to fall eventually. Who knows from what height, from what level. But one indicator that we'd have would be falling out of that rising wedge pattern. And we just don't necessarily see it. And right now the RSI also doesn't show any sort of bearish divergence. I looked across multiple different time frames. Doesn't quite show it to us yet. But this is what we're looking at right now for Palantir. And it seems as though, I got to say, it seems as though it's unstoppable. I will say for this, the monthly RSI is pretty much as high as I've ever seen it for anything, almost at 96, just because it's been pretty much up every month. I think there's been 1 month so far in these last 14 months where they actually had a little bit down, and it was pennies. It was not much at all. On a weekly basis, we're sitting at 77, which isn't so bad. Still overbought, and then 80 on a daily basis on this. So most likely we're going to retrace sometime soon, sometime in the near future. I don't know from what height or where we're going to go. Like I said right here, as we look at this, we got an indication right now that we could still continue upward for a little bit. At some point in time, there will be some profit taking. We do have an options expiration, a monthly options expiration on the 15th of August. So that's this coming Friday, with some inflation news to watch out for and some other catalysts. So we'll see what that brings to the overall markets. For right now, I said the general direction was up for the markets, and that's what we're seeing. So over to NVIDIA. This one just keeps on climbing, climbing, climbing. I will say for NVIDIA, we didn't get a fully decisive candle like we got for Palantir. A little bit more indecision, a little bit to the north, so we could absolutely still continue to the upside for this one. So not so bad, but I will also do this. I'll click on this arrow, and then these two drawings that I have on here for you. There we go. And we'll just bump them over. I'm going to say the same thing coming up for Monday, that we want to watch again to see what we get, because it's a very narrow range candle. Oftentimes when you get these battles being fought like this, it signals that indecision that we have. And we still have NVIDIA earnings on the horizon to look at. Now, unlike Palantir, NVIDIA does have some of that bearish divergence. Prices up, momentum down. And that makes me suspect that this rising wedge pattern that NVIDIA is in on the daily chart could actually show us a little bit of price weakness, maybe just reverting down to the 20-day, not too far from where it's at right now. Earnings are the big thing. If we continue to get a massive run up until earnings, then earnings could potentially be that sell the news event, unless they really, 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 really knock it out of the park. Well, I mean, the expectations are so darn high on this. It actually reminds me a little bit of a little bit of what happened with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That Endgame happened, and like we were like, all right, well, what's happening next? That was an incredible run from Iron Man all the way until Endgame. Some people would say Incredible Hulk, but I don't start there. So Iron Man all the way up until Endgame. That was great. What is the next thing? And then we got the Eternals. And now, mind you, I don't think that was a good movie to start with. It was kind of like, it wasn't great. But on top of that, like, it had such a high amount of expectation going into it that I think no matter how good it was, probably always would have felt a little bit bad about it. So if we get a continued run from here, especially if we go from here and, for example, hit $200 per share prior to earnings, to me, like, that puts it close to being a $5 trillion company. Just so you know, I think $205 per share makes it a $500 trillion, a $5 trillion company. That starts to get a little bit rich unless the earnings and forward guidance really justify that we stay up there for a while. And it could also be one of those things, and I'm watching for this, all sorts of this stuff all the time. It could be that thing that marks the market top for right now, and then we kind of coasted slide into September, the September slide, if you will, from the end of August here with the NVIDIA earnings. And that's the thing that we're kind of like, okay, well, let's readjust, reassess, replan. We'll listen to what the Fed has to say in September when they come out and talk. We'll look at the jobs reports. We'll look at the inflation reports that come out during that time, and we'll reassess from there. That seems like a plausible story, but I'm not going to speculate too much because it's not really worth it until we actually see the results of NVIDIA's earnings. I hope we do hit the $5 trillion mark. That would be absolutely awesome. Not only being the only $4 trillion company, or the first $4 trillion company that we have in the S&P 500, but then also being the first $5 trillion just a couple weeks after it was the first $4 trillion company. That's at least fun, if nothing else. Moving over to CoreWeave, I said we could potentially have a push up to 129 when we're all the way down here at 111. And we caught that move, and we're up above the 21, the 5, the 13, and the 50. So all the moving averages that I have on here. And so we'll see what we get. We could have a retest of the 50, but right now closing above that 38.2 is good. And their earnings are coming up, by the way, on the 12th of August. So that would be on Tuesday in the after hours. And maybe we see that $151 price tag come out of it. That would be incredible. If not, maybe it's probably going to drop pretty hard if we do drop from where it's at, if things really disappoint for us. However, with all the talk about growth and expansion and infrastructure build out for AI, I think a lot of people are expecting that we're going to have something pretty incredible if we hit the 150 prior to those earnings. So in those 2 trading days that we have left leading up to that, that's not necessarily totally out of the question. But if we were to have that, then it might be like that same thing I was talking about where, okay, it's sell the news. The earnings were incredible, but we got a little bit frothy there for a moment. So, we'll watch and see. We'll watch and see. Apple stock, I said 225. Yeah, Apple said hold my beer, and then moved up today, peaking at 231 before settling back down to 229.35 to close. And then Block Inc., I said watch this trading range when we were down here around 60. And it said it went all the way up to about 83, and the last 2 days, I should say. So following their earnings, we peaked out the day before 82, today 82.50, and then started selling off. So we hit the top of the trading range, and now we're moving back down. And in this range, it goes all the way from like July of last year until, well, August of this year so far, and it's still in that range with a few moments where it broke outside of it, which might tell you where some of those either long or short opportunities are, depending on what you do. So, guys, over at the Discord, I share technicals like this all the time. I share here over at YouTube, trying to give you some good ideas where you might find opportunity going long, short, for some of people's favorite trades and maybe some of the off-the-beaten-path trades that are out there. Big Bear AI, I think the earnings are going to be exciting, to say the least. So regardless of what we get, the price action itself is most likely going to be exciting. We'll see if we get $2 in either direction. Listen, if it's more than $2 to the north, absolutely excellent. If it's more than $2 to the south, well, we'll see what sort of move we get if it is to the south, and I might sell some put options or something against it to see what I can do in terms of either just premium harvesting, or maybe I just get a much lower cost basis. And I'll repoint once we see those earnings, but I do intend to go long into those earnings with some call options as long as the price isn't astronomical. So if it's something that's priced to the point that I don't think it's going to be very easy to be profitable on it at all, well, then I'll wait until afterwards and then replan, readjust. We'll see. Like I said, I'll share those out over at the Discord. You guys can learn this technical analysis and more, including options trading, through the link in the description for Stockmo Academy. Code word doctor works for that. Bundle discount if you get both courses together, options and technical analysis with the technical trading. Both together, you get a bundle discount, and Code Word Doctor gets you an even deeper discount on top of it. It even works for the individual courses. Code Word Doctor also works when you sign up for that Discord where you can see all the expert panelists. I'm just one of the expert panelists over there, and Stockmo's over there. We did some live trading yesterday. You guys could have checked it out with some 0 DTE options. That was pretty incredible, and the community absolutely loves those live streams. There's also some live teaching lessons that happen over there as well, and then there's general discussion channels, channels for options, channels for crypto, you name it. It is an entire ecosystem there to support you in your journey towards financial freedom and building alpha in your portfolio. And two other things, guys, before I let you go. One of them, have a good weekend. Two, there's some workshops coming up. I'm leading the one for options, and I'll leave the link in the description when that is official. I'll let you know the date and the time that that's taking place. There are a limited number of seats available. This first session is meant to take you from 0 to your first options trade. So even if you already do trade options, but you're not really totally sure what's going on, it's definitely worth stopping by. There are a limited number of seats available, and like I said, I'll put that in the description as well so that you guys know exactly how to access that and what day and time it's taking place. Stockmo is also going to have one on technical analysis, and then Crypto Will, Fresh Prince of Crypto, is going to have one on the crypto markets as well. So you'll be able to check out each of those 3 courses. So guys, like I said, I'll let you know about that official launch. All right, have a good weekend, guys. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education. Remember, my friends, that learning is earning, and we'll see you next video.